How's it going? It's Drew Blazik here, and we're going to do chapter 14 worksheet. So if you could, right below the video, download the Excel sheet and let's get started. All right, what we have here, all right, we have some numbers. We got fixed costs, we got variable costs, we got total costs, marginal costs, average fixed costs, average variable costs, and average total costs. So if we can do this entire thing, this is going to help you for the whole chapter. Again, it's going to light up green if you get it correct. This is our output on the left side. Let me define a couple things here. Fixed costs is not dependent on output at all. So, for example, if you produce zero, you still got fixed costs, which is like your contracts. You have to pay it no matter what. So, for example, if I said this is 1,080, that's correct. And if I drag it all the way down, right, all of those are correct. So fixed cost is not dependent on output. You could produce 0 to 10, you still have the same fixed costs. Just note this is total fixed costs, not average. Now you got total variable costs. Now variable cost by definition is dependent on output, which means if you produce an additional piece of pizza or a whole pizza, you have variable costs, which is the materials in it. It has to do with maybe the labor you put in it, uh, the pizza sauce, the pepperonis, the cheese. Now it's worth noting that labor is tricky. If it is a contract for a year, that's a fixed cost. If it's an hourly wage, that's a variable cost, but because you could change it depending on your output. So in our examples, I believe we have variable costs for labor or labor is variable costs. So how do we calculate variable costs, total variable costs in this example? Well, before we get there, let's look at the other one so we could define it. So we got total cost. What is total cost? Total cost is fixed cost plus variable cost. Well, I don't have two of those, so I still can't do variable costs. I don't know what it is. And then we got something called marginal costs, and I'll define the next ones in a bit, but I'll stop here. Marginal cost is the additional costs for that additional output. So, so for example, if you hired an additional worker, how much did that cost you to produce an additional piece of pizza? Um, or if you didn't hire someone, let's say you want to make one more pizza, how much does one more pizza cost? Well, it's not going to be the same as average. Average is the same of all the units. If you could imagine if you had just a quick little not a metaphor, but kind of a example on this, which is if you had a strawberry farm in your backyard, and let's say it's a very small one, and let's say it's a 2 by 2. Well, if you hire one worker, he'll produce a bunch of strawberries. Well, if you hire an additional worker, what's the marginal cost to produce the next strawberry? Or you didn't hire, maybe I'm saying it wrong, you didn't hire an additional worker. If you want to produce an additional strawberry and you did not increase the plot of land that you had, that's going to cost you more for that last strawberry because you don't have enough land. It's going to cause other issues. So there's gets to a point, and it's real important. Marginal cost is swooping down and then up. So as you produce more output at the beginning, each worker is more efficient and produces more. That means the marginal cost goes down and then it's at a minimum. And then as you produce more output, it's going to cost you more and more because you're fixed with your facility, with your workers, with the resources you have. In order to produce more, it's going to cost you more. People are bumping into each other if you want to produce the extra output. You don't have enough capital, for example. So that's real important. So if we look at this, I have the total variable cost, total fixed costs, and then we got the total cost. Well, I know the variable cost is there. We know it's 1480. Let's do some math here. If I want to look at total cost, I think total cost, this is kind of easy here. I'm going to say it is the previous total cost plus, I want to think about it this way, plus the marginal cost. Marginal cost is the cost of the additional output. If my total cost at unit 1 was 1480, if you want to find out how much total cost was in unit 2, the second one, that means you add in the marginal cost, and that's our total cost. Marginal cost is a cost specifically on that unit. That's 450. So just to drive it home, the first one cost me 400. What was my fixed cost? I owe 1,080 no matter what. That means what is my total cost if I produce one? Well, it's the 1,080 plus that 400, which is 480. Okay. So it's kind of connected to variable cost, but variable cost is a total. That's a total. That's a total of one. That's why they are the same at that first unit, because that's a total variable cost for that one unit. And then the additional cost for producing one more unit is 400. All right. So since we have um, fixed costs and I got total costs, now what I can do is to find the variable costs. Remember, total cost equals fixed plus variable. So I'm going to say it's total cost minus the fixed must be the variable. So the difference between those two will be the variable costs. All right, next, let's keep on going down here. Let's try to find how about the total variable cost on the 6 unit? Well, how can I find it? You know what? There's a bunch of ways of finding it. You have some other, but look at the most easiest. Again, this is just like the last one. If I know the total cost, I know the fixed cost, it must be the difference between the total cost and the fixed, which would be my variable. In other words, my fixed plus my variable equals my total. Let's find our total cost going down. Well, my total cost is going to be my fixed cost plus my variable. And what you can do is I'm going to hold down shift. It's the same equation for those. Hold down shift. Now I'm going to hit control D. That's called fill down. That will fill down, or you can just drag it. It's the same equation. I'm going to drag that down like that, and that's going to bring it down. And let's do the same up here. It's going to be the variable plus the fix. We can fill that in. Okay. One thing I want to do right here, what is the total cost? If we produce 0 units, remember variable cost is depending on output. Variable cost goes up if you produce output. Well, if I produce 0, I still owe my fixed. I hate when that happens. I get a little too quick with that. So my total cost is just my fix if I produce 0. If I produce 1, well, I'm going to add a marginal, which is 400 for that additional unit. All right, we still can fill this one in. This is going to be the variable cost. So again, it's going to be the difference between my total and my fix must be my variable. Okay, so we got here, we got the fixed costs, variable costs, and total costs all filled in. Now let's fill in our marginal costs. What we want to know is what is the marginal, the additional cost for adding a next unit. So for example, if the total cost on the second unit was 1930, and then the total cost on the third unit is 2430, that means, now I'm going to do the real equation here. If you look it up on PowerPoint. Now, this is important. Since I'm increasing it by 1, you don't have to do it this way, but if we increase it by tens, you have to do this function, which I'm about to do. So if you get a question that's going by tens or hundreds, well, we're going to find out what is the additional cost on average of those 10 units or 100. Now, this is individual units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you don't technically have to do it. But what we're going to do is to find the marginal cost, it's going to be the change in total cost. So I'm going to do this total cost this year minus the previous. And then it's going to be divided by the change in output. So 3, right? I'm going to select that cell, 3 minus the previous. So I just want to make sure you understood what I did. Since we're going by ones, I did not have to do this. I'm dividing it by 1. But if it's by tens, that would have divided it by 10, which would give me the average marginal cost within that 10. That makes sense. So we got 500. So what I could do is I could drag that down to get the marginal. One thing you can do, I'm going to hit Control. I'm going to copy that cell. I'm going to do the same thing down here because we already have all those filled out. I'm going to copy that on the Mac. If you have a Mac, it's a bit different. I'm going to hit Alt ES. You need to get to Paste Options. Paste Options. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to Formula. I only want to copy the equation that I did. And that's going to automatically drag it 2 cells down and do that formula there. Now, since it's right underneath it, all I have to do is drag it down. There we go. Only thing I don't like about dragging, you see how I got rid of that border? I'm going to show you one thing I could do. I could hit copy this one and then go down and hit Alt ES and go to formulas. Alt ES. Now you think that's a little hard to think about. Once you do it a lot, it's pretty easy. If you don't want to get good at that, just do that same equation for each one, right? It's a change of total costs divided by the change of output. Now the change of output is just one. So all you really have to do is to find out the marginal costs. This is all you really have to do is do the total costs, this unit minus the previous unit, and that's going to be the additional costs. Okay, these are a little easy here. Now we're just trying to find what is the average fixed cost per unit. Per unit. So what I do is to find the average, I'm going to find the total fixed cost and I'm going to divide it by the units we produce. We produce one. So the average fixed cost, it costs for 1 unit, is going to be the fixed cost, 1,080, right? So after you get that done, all you have to do is drag that down. And just to show how I did it again, this is the average fixed cost, which is going to be the total fixed cost divided by the output. And you see the average fixed cost always goes down because since it's not dependent on output, the fixed cost stays the same and the cost per unit is cheaper and cheaper as you produce more units for the average fixed cost. So again, I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go Alt ES, which is just paste specials. I'm going to hit formula. Again, I can go here. They actually just select. I hold down Control, and then you can pick different cells. Get that done. So okay, so we got the average fixed cost. Now what we want to know is what's the average, and you see how the fixed cost goes down. If I was going to draw a graph, it looks like this as you produce more output. The average fixed cost is cheaper and cheaper. And that's what gives you the average total cost. If you guys seen that curve, the average total cost goes down as you produce more outputs at the beginning. Why? Because the average fixed cost becomes cheaper and cheaper. If I produce 1 million units, that means you take that fixed cost divided by 1,000,000. It's real cheap per unit. All right, now let's look at the average variable cost. So I'm going to go find the total variable cost, and I'm going to divide it by the units. 1. So that's going to give me the average variable cost. I'm going to go down, and again, I'm going to copy that equation right there. I'm going to highlight these. I'm going to hit Alt ES or just find paste specials and go to formulas, and that's going to solve it for us there. Last, what's the average total cost? Pretty easy here. Average total cost, what I'm going to do is take the total cost. I'm going to divide it by the amount of units. Let's keep an eye on this. As you can see, the average variable cost is going up and up and up. So we don't have that swoop in our numbers here. The average is going up. That means the marginal is going up. Each additional unit costs more and more and more as you produce it. And see what's going down here? The marginal, it gets so expensive if you have to produce an extra output and you're using the same factory. Say you're maxed out, the machines are maxed out, all the workers are working 40 hours. If you want to produce more output, they have to work 60 hours. You're overworking the machinery. It's going to cost you a lot. You need to expand capital, a new plant. So it's real important to see that if you try to produce more output and you're going beyond what your capital or your machinery could produce and your labor force could produce, people are going to get tired. They're not going to be as efficient. It's going to cost you a lot to produce a little bit of output. So I'm going to copy that, drag that down. Again, Alt ES. There you go. Just to show a couple things here is that, well, we got the averages. Um, I could have done this too. If I want to find the average total cost, um, I could have just added up these two. That would give me the average total cost. So you could do the same thing as we did with the equation on that side. But okay, Copilot's trying to start. But yeah, there you go. That's all you got. I got. And if you have any questions, please let me know.